What is up, you guys? WonderBro here. Today we're going to be talking about do the opposite. This is a topic that we have covered many times before here on the channel. However, I feel like it's a very important one, so we're going to talk about it again today. So anxiety recovery, everyone out there is kind of grasping for something they can hold on to, something short, sweet, and simple that they can remember. How do I recover? What is my job? How can I get there? Tell me something that is just straight and to the point that I can live by, that will eventually get me to recovery. Now, if somebody asked me that question, WonderBro, what is the one thing that you could tell me that I could hold on to and remember and just live by to get to recovery, right? I would say that. I would say do the opposite. Now, this applies mentally and physically, right? You always want to do the opposite of what anxiety wants you to do. The more you do what anxiety wants you to do, which is to gather things like reassurance, which is to fight with those thoughts, to try to figure those thoughts out, which is to try to get out of situations or change your situation in order to avoid certain anxious feelings. Anytime you do what anxiety wants you to do, you are basically reinforcing it. You are telling it, you're right, I'm wrong, right? So if I had to tell people one thing, just one thing that is straight and to the point and sweet and simple, it would be, guys, do the opposite. Do the opposite. If you get a sticky, intrusive thought, for example, that your anxiety wants you to figure out, what is the opposite of that? Do the opposite. You wouldn't figure it out. You would just accept it. You would say, okay, it's here, right? And you wouldn't lock onto it. You would let it be there while you continue to live your life. If you get a feeling that says, okay, you need to stay in bed because you're too anxious to go and do this and to go and get this work done and to go and do this productive thing, what would be do the opposite? You'd get up and you'd go do the productive thing. If anxiety is there and it's got you frozen, like we did a video the other day called the freeze response, and you just want to sit there, you don't want to do anything. Well, what would do the opposite of that be? It would be to go have fun. It would be to go do the things you want to do. Now, I know that's easier said than done because you're carrying around all these intense feelings, okay? But at some point, you have to see past that and realize that your job of doing the opposite is more important than these temporary feelings, right? Because if you continue to do what they want you to do, if you continue to do what anxiety wants you to do, you are just reinforcing it. So I understand. I get it. It is easier said than done. But do the opposite. You can't go wrong with do the opposite. If anxiety wants you to lay in bed and worry about something, do the opposite would be to get up and engage in something else while you accept the thoughts and feelings. So that's an important little side note there. Doing the opposite does not necessarily mean that you're going to just immediately bring your anxiety down, okay? In fact, doing the opposite a lot of times involves not doing coping methods and compulsion. So a lot of times when you do the opposite, you might get a little kick from your anxiety. That's totally fine. As long as you are living by do the opposite, you are retraining your brain. Might not feel instant, might take time for your brain to catch up. We talk about that here all the time on the channel. That's perfectly fine too. If you do the opposite, both mentally and physically, of what anxiety wants you to do. Now that, again, that involves dropping coping methods, compulsions, reassurance. You're doing literally the opposite of what anxiety wants. If you live by that, in time, maybe not as quickly as you'd like, but in time, your brain will start to get the picture. What is the picture? The picture is this: he or she is okay. They're not taking my advice anymore. They're living their own life. They're doing their own thing. They're not hyper-focused and locked in on trying to fight with me and get rid of me. They're not doing all these things that I want them to do for safety purposes, right? So in time, the brain would get the idea, but you really have to live by do the opposite. So again, I am on this channel all about making this thing as simple and as straightforward as possible. I didn't say easy, but I said simple and straightforward. So because of that, you know, I really like the do the opposite mindset. It's a way for people to put into perspective what their job is. You can always ask yourself the question in the moment, and you probably should get into a habit of doing this. What would be to do the opposite right now? If you notice you're using a compulsion, you can ask yourself, what would be the opposite of this? If you notice you're anxious and you're laying in bed under the covers, you would ask yourself, what would be the opposite of this? If you've got a sticky, intrusive thought that you really want to worry about and fight with and get reassurance over and argue with, you would ask yourself, what would be the opposite of this? Now, again, I said simple, not easy. Takes work, takes dedication. But if you continue to do the opposite of what anxiety wants you to do, rest assured that in time, you will gain control of your own life back. If you are sick of anxiety controlling your life, you must start to do the opposite, okay? Anytime you do compulsions or get reassurance or fight with those thoughts or feelings or do all these things that you do in order to satisfy anxiety, your brain notices that, right? And it's why you're not making progress, okay, guys? So do the opposite is the one thing that I would tell people. If someone had me in a stranglehold right now and was like, Wonder Bro, you got to tell your audience one thing and you can only tell them one thing in order to get them to recovery, what are you going to tell them? I would say do the opposite. All right, you guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. Get up, do the opposite. I love you. This applies physically, or pointing to the wrong body part, physically and mentally. All right, do the opposite. I love you. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed today's videos. I've been saying this past few videos, but I want to say it at least one more time. The streams aren't going anywhere. It's just right now at this period, I want to grow the channel, and the numbers don't lie. Way more new people are watching the videos as compared to the streams. Don't necessarily blame them. I probably wouldn't click on an hour-long stream if I was bad off and wanted help. So I get it. I get it. But the streams aren't going anywhere. It's just I'm in a period of growth right now. I want to continue growing the channel. We may throw in some streams every now and then just to hang out with my regulars. And then at some point, we may get back to regular streams. But for now, I really want to grow the channel. So thank you guys for understanding. I do hope you enjoy the videos. It seems like a lot of people prefer them. But anyway, thanks for watching today, guys. I'm just rambling. I'll see you next time. And until, oh, there we go. The light's going out. That's my cue. Until next time, as always, stay awesome.